But who better than me?
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to the casual stream with your host, Face the Kid. As always, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with a friend, a colleague, a relative, an associate, an enemy, any and all in between. It is appreciated. Thank you very much, everyone who is here. And obviously, I know we usually do this on a Wednesday. I did let the majority of people know that it would be Thursday this week, so I hope that no one turned up yesterday expecting to see it then. But if you did, apologies. Next week will probably also be the Thursday, as the Wednesday I do have a few bits and pieces to take care of. That being said, we may do an additional stream on Monday, straight after Monday Night Smoke. Stay tuned, just in case that may happen. Um, but yeah, look, there's a lot to speak about. A lot has happened since Sunday, since Saturday. Um, Obviously, we've got to talk about the fallout from the show that took place over in LA. Give our general thoughts on that. We have to discuss, as you guys can see in the thumbnail, what's been going on in that. Is it a fatal four-way? Is it a battle royale? Is it like, I mean, you've got, Turki Al-Sheikh, you've got Canelo Alvarez, then you've got like Terence Crawford in there also going at Canelo, but going at Eddie Hearn as well. Eddie Hearn going back at Bud Crawford. You've also got, I guess a little tiny bit of tension between Eddie Hearn and Canelo, because Canelo reckons that Eddie's out there using his name for promo, just talking about him for no reason. But he said, Eddie loves me, we're still good, but keep my name out your mouth. Essentially, that's the kind of talks that we're hearing. So look, there's a lot to get into. Plus, we need to talk about, Ortiz and Boachuk as well. And I just found out some interesting information about that fight, funny enough. So, yeah, I guess we've got a lot to get into there. Plus, any other little bits and pieces that anyone wants to talk about outside of that. We should be going for the usual hour that we normally do. That being said, I am actually running out of I'm running out of streaming time, because obviously the event on the weekend was nearly took up nearly 6 hours of my time. So I have to actually get my account upgraded at the end of this month, which will hopefully allow me another. I think I get double the amount that I'm on. I think I'm on about 20 hours now, so I think I should get about 40 to 60, which means more live streams. I need to get back to actually filming actual episodes. That's been a bit tricky of late, as I've had a lot of stuff to do after work, and obviously being at work, I'm not getting to do stuff during the day as much, or early hours in the morning. So yeah, I know some people are preferring the live streams. Other people are, want that old content back. So I will try and get that back on there. I've also got fem files that need to be recorded. I haven't done one of those in about 8 months. So, there is a new crop of ladies that I feel the people do need to hear about. I need to do some members only content as well for obviously the people that's hitting up. So yeah, there's not enough hours in the day, but I'm trying. We'll see how much I can manage. Also, there's a bunch of events that I've not gone to or that I haven't applied for, because I just don't have the luxury of being able to attend them anymore. So that's a bit frustrating. But we'll make do. We will kind of, do as much as we can moving forward. But with that being said, I've spoken for enough time in the intro. Let me greet everyone who's in the building, and then we can start getting into the talks, and everyone can give me their opinions on what's kind of been going on, because it's crazy. Also, I think I'm going to do today as well, I think I'm going to drop a link in the chat about halfway through for other people to give their takes. So if you do want to jump on, just click that link as soon as I do drop it. But let's go into the chat. So big ups to number one, Philip Answer, back at his number one spot. I know he wasn't happy that he didn't make it the other day. So shout outs to Philip. No naps today. It's a good thing. Good to see. Man like Reese Cooper in the building. Salute to you, Reese. Star Fox WR45 E in the building as well. Shout out to you. Shout out to you each and every time. Jonah 31 in the building. And Mr. A. What's going on? What's going on? It's been a while. Hope you're well. And hopefully we'll see you at an event soon. I Lucan in the building. Shout out to you. Big ups, big ups. Christopher Anthony, shout out. Big up Turkey, boss man. I don't care what Canelo does unless it's Benavidez. Turkey been getting the fights done. I hear you. Ahaya Selassie, shout out to you. Shout out to you. You haven't missed nothing yet, but we're gonna we're gonna get into everything. Pokes is live as well. Shout out to you. Big ups. Thank you very much for being here. Philip saying he wasn't upset. YouTube limit stream time. Red was saying X charges to stream now. That's crazy. Try streaming on Twitch. No, it's not YouTube that limits it. It's my StreamYard. I can stream for as much as I want on YouTube, but my StreamYard, I've got a basic account. I don't have a premium or a paid for account at the minute. So I'm limited to about 20 hours a month to stream. So whenever I do the watch alongs, I have to be strategic on which ones I do, because they will eat up 3, 4, 5 hours of time out of my allowance. Sai in the building, shout outs to you. Ra Holcomb as well, big up, blessed to you. Chris, it's not YouTube that's charging, it's a StreamYard, but they're not charging, they're just limiting the amount I can do. Like I said, I could stream directly through YouTube, but it's just harder to kind of do the graphics and actually let people know. It's a bit trickier. You can do a lot more through StreamYard than you can through YouTube. So James in the building, shout out. And Ross saying, I hate Canelo and Turkey, so hope they mess each other's plans up. Oh wow, hate's a strong word. You might have to call in a little while and tell us exactly why you hate them. That's a bit of a strong statement there, Ra. Very strong statement. What you make of Canelo saying he takes 80% of everything? He could very well be telling the truth. I know that Floyd Mayweather used to have a very high percentage of what he was taking from his fights at the gates, the concessions and stuff like that. And there are some people that do have those full deals. The one reason I may push back on that 80% of everything is because even though it's Canelo Promotions, Canelo doesn't have a broadcast partner like that is his. He doesn't have his own broadcast deal. He's essentially a hired gun, like, for lack of a better phrase. So he's not really he's not putting the money up for these events. So if you're not putting the money up, I don't see how you can then justify saying that you're taking everything from the event, if that makes sense. It doesn't really compute to me, but I'm not saying it's not true, because I know there are deals like that, and maybe that's something that he's wrote into his contract, is that I need to, I want this from here. Anything that you get a piece of, like, I want a slice of that as well. But that is 80%. He probably takes 80% of the ticket sales. I could imagine that, or 80% of the pay-per-view. But to do 80% of everything, knowing that you don't actually put any money up at all, sounds a bit fishy. But I won't call him a liar, because I have no way to back that up. And facts, that Crawford card was long, 100%. It was nearly 10 hours. Like, I'm sorry. I know it was a great event in that sense, but that was way too long. Too many talky segments, too many breaks in between certain fights. Don't get me wrong, I'm an Eminem fan. I like Eminem's music. I always have, for the most part. But that concert wasn't necessary, especially on if it was on the East Coast, maybe, because obviously they're closer to our timeline. But the West Coast, that 8 hours behind stuff, like the fact that my stream didn't stop until nearly 7 a.m. in the morning. That's ridiculous. That, I'm an old man now. I know I look good for my age. I know I'm young-ish in appearance, but the body is old. Like, the recovery time is not the same as it used to be. So yeah, I need them to take that into consideration, especially if they're going to be charging us the pay-per-view. If it was free over here, all right, cool. I'm not going to moan about freeness, but I'm paying. So if I'm paying, I need to be able to go to my bed at a decent time. Because no one's then gonna say, "Oh well, you could have just gone to sleep and then woken up for the main event." But I've paid for the event, so I want to watch the event. It's like going to the cinema and then going to sleep and then only waking up at the final, like the last action scenes of the. No, I want to see the entire film. That's what I paid for. So yeah, that's my thoughts on it. I don't know about anyone else personally, but James, I like that Canelo is standing his ground and not just kissing Turkey. He makes enough money. Funny though, I think it hit nerve on Turkey. I agree. We're gonna get into that in a moment. As soon as I do my switch, OBS to StreamYard, unless you're using. Yeah, at the moment it's from a phone. I've got a laptop, but my laptop is basically it's a work-based laptop. I don't even know if I can get StreamYard or OBS or Twitch or any of those other things. I don't even know if it would download them. Because the other day I tried to use Google Chrome web browser instead of the Windows browser on there, and it told me it was restricted by company. So yeah, I need to work on getting a new laptop, but that's down the line for right now. Yaseo, shout out to you. One fishnet party with Oscar and Turkey became the Saudi Oscar. Yeah, I hear that. Shout out to Hot Pies in the building. Turkey needs to get these cards down. He better not pull these stunts next month. Well, how much? Isn't there 7 fights on the card next month? I mean, and wait, isn't Robbie Williams performing or no? What's his name? The guy from Oasis. Was he from Oasis? Why is his name gone out my head? You guys know who I'm talking about. Anyway, yeah, but he's performing at the event as well. So I'm sure they're gonna have it's gonna be like another 6-hour, 7-8 hour event. Liam Gallagher, that's the guy. Yeah, thank you very much. Liam Gallagher, he's there to perform. He's performing, and I think there's 7 fights on the main card. So yeah, it's gonna be but at least that one is on our UK time. It might, and because it's Wembley, there is a curfew whereby you have to be out of there. Now, obviously, he might decide to pay the cash to let it overrun into the earlier hours, but the latest it can't go later than like 1 o'clock in the morning. Realistically, I'm hoping, but yeah. KG made out like the Eminem concert was better than the card, moving like a stand. I mean, you know what the thing is? I reckon in the building, it was a dope thing. And if you're on that time zone, it probably was like a much better occasion. But it's just over here when ultimately we are, we're dying for sleep at that point. We don't need an Eminem concert. You know what I mean? But I'm sure it was live in the building. Lucky for me, my body is fresh. That's what you say, Philip. Yet the other day you was like, I just woke up from a nap. Had a nap. I was tired. Nah, man. You might think your body fresh. You're probably worse than us because you're still growing. So you're gonna be there sleeping a lot longer than the rest of us have to. I find Eminem just okay. So for me, it was just torture at that point. I almost just went to bed. I hear you, Sai. David Benavidez is set to return in December. He'll probably be on the undercard of Fury Usyk, to be honest, because Turkey's talking about working with him, so I'm sure he'd end up on there. It took me 2 days to recover from that event, not getting any younger. That Eminem performance was unnecessary. Yeah, it didn't take me 2 days. It took me nearly the whole of Sunday. I thought I was all right in the morning, and then I just couldn't get any of my stuff done. I didn't wake up properly until like sort of 4, 5 o'clock. Plus, I had to watch SummerSlam afterwards as well, and do my weekend wrap, and wash clothes and put them out and go to the gym. Like I managed to get everything done somehow, but yeah, my day got thrown back by about 3 or 4 hours based off of that. So Turkey backtrack on his word. First says he's not interested in Benavidez fight. Then he is. Then before the interview wasn't interested in Crawford versus Canelo no more. Now Canelo is ducking. There's a lot to unpack in that whole statement. Canelo moving like Frank White, he wants a piece of everything. Like, hey, I mean, if you can get it, go for it. The one that walked like he's got doo-doo in his pants. Emma Willis, the LA card told me everything I need to know. I'll sell him my Wembley tickets. I'm not sitting through all that. Well, not Emma, just go late. go at 8:30, 9 o'clock. Unless there's obviously you want to see all the main fights. I don't know. Maybe I'm trying to see scraps, not these concerts. I hear you. Should have got Kendrick in there as it was LA. Now I get that, but obviously the Eminem thing was purely because obviously him and Terence Crawford have got that relationship, and Eminem obviously just put out an album the other day, whereas Kendrick hasn't dropped his album yet, has he? I don't think it's out yet until next month, so he wouldn't have really had anything new or apart from Not Like Us. So maybe Not Like Us is not the song you want. Also, if you got to bear in mind, maybe because Kendrick, obviously that's his ends or whatever, but he lives in New York now, and maybe they didn't want all the N-word stuff, whereas, you know, because it's might be a predominantly Mexican crowd, so you get someone that's obviously not Mexican, but there's less of the racial wording in their lyrics. That might have been a reason why. But yeah, I don't know exactly, but you know, obviously Eminem's is a big name, well renowned. Everyone knows him across the world. Maybe they wasn't just thinking about like the US market, maybe just thinking about everyone globally as well. So Slim Sleepy. That Teddy Atlas guy is seen as the Albert Einstein of boxing. How has he been validated? He's just known as a trainer of Mike Tyson. What's his achievement, body of work? Not much. He doesn't have any good takes these days. I mean, he said that he called Martin Bakoli a bum before the Jared Anderson fight. So Anderson will deal with him easily. Called him a bum, and yeah, I haven't seen his show afterwards though. I do need to watch the show after to see what he said as a as a retort or a recant on what he said. Sour grapes from Turkey, I don't want it anymore. Sound like I can't lie, that did sound very petulant, the way he dropped that. Shout out to Mark Comby. We are slowly seeing the arrogance of Turkey. I think he should just stay quiet in the background. Mate, no one stays quiet when they start to get the adulation. It is what it is. But yes, no, he's 100% he's arrogant, but I knew he was arrogant from the first time I met him at the Fury and Ngannou press conference. Was it that one? Yeah, it was that one. When I was at Outernet, and you were saying certain things there, and you was talking about the fights that you wanted to make next and whatnot. Like, you could just tell that this is someone that ultimately is going to be able to get what he wants. So he came off very much like, you guys are going to, this is going to be my way or no way at all. And for some people, it worked. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I like what he said with regards to like Tank Davis, because Tank ultimately came out disrespectful about giving me the 2 Ferraris. Whether or not he said that because that Turkey is basically friends, or he's going to be partial to Devin Haney or not. Okay, cool, but there's a way to do business, and that's not it. But now Turkey is being that exact same way when it comes to Canelo, because he's not necessarily conducting himself in a way that to show Canelo the respect of someone that is like the number one guy in the sport. And that's not to say that you've got to bow to Canelo's demands, but you can't talk to Canelo the same way you could talk to a Jarrell Miller, you know what I mean, or a Jared Anderson. Like I said, like Canelo said, I've never asked him for anything. I literally don't need you to make money at all. Like, yeah, you might be able to offer me a lot, or maybe offer me more than I've ever made in any one fight, but I'm good over here. Like, my money, my money's long. I'm not running out of money anytime soon, and there's nothing that, ultimately, unless you can make it so astronomically out of my realm of visuals, then the least you can do is chat to me nice. Because I guarantee you, and I'll get to this in a moment, but I guarantee you, if Turkey offered him 200 million for the Crawford fight and said, "Look, I got 200 million if you take the fight," Canelo, 200, yeah, all right, cool, say nothing, let's do it. But because you're not offering him that, even though you probably could, but because you're not, okay, well now you've got to talk to him like he's still on a level. Like you can't just talk to him like you're gonna dictate what he's gonna do, and if he doesn't like it, it's your way or the highway. No, unfortunately, it doesn't work that way. When when people are on similar levels, like you have to adjust your game plan. Yeah, obviously you could say that Turkey is probably, let's say he's 10 times richer than than Canelo. All right, that's cool. That makes sense. But even being 10 times richer, like again, Canelo's money is generational at this point. Like he's not able to spend all of his money. His children probably can't spend all of his money, and their children probably can't spend all of his money at this point. There's not enough stuff to buy for the type of money that he's made and the investments that he has and the sponsors and whatever. So yeah, when it gets to that point, sometimes it's like, all right, well, the fact that you've got 10 times more than me doesn't really mean anything because there's nothing that you can buy that realistically I can't, unless we're talking about an actual country. And, that's kind of the way I see it. Kendrick last album was 2022. Great to fall asleep to. Yeah, I remember. I think he's got a new one coming out, but I think it's coming out at the end of this month or maybe the start of next. I did see that I saw that in on a post somewhere. But shout out to Isaac Bermudez. Canelo unfollowed. I mean, Turkey unfollowed Canelo. What a drama queen. Mr. Morrow was a proper piece of music. Canelo moving mad on the Sway Radio interview. No wonder Turkey said that. If Turkey was really about the sport, he would fund Canelo versus Benavidez ASAP. Isaac, I'm telling you, and I've told a lot of people this, and I feel like a lot of people are starting to realize, like David Benavidez never really wanted that Canelo fight. There's too much evidence out there now to prove it. Just because Canelo was talking about astronomical numbers, so it makes it look like he's the one that didn't want the fight. I'm telling you, like David Benavidez is the one he was doing what Deontay Wilder did to Anthony Joshua, just using his name, 100%. Teddy Atlas been hating on anyone involved in UK boxing for years. Not just boxing in general, like he just doesn't have good takes anymore. Turkey can't stay quiet. Where has anyone ever heard of a quiet sugar daddy? He's not just gonna front money and step back. I mean, that's true. Overhyped rich boy Turkey. Oh geez. Okay, so Isaac, are you a Canelo fan? Are you drawing a line in the sand? Is that why we're doing this? My man who won the car was a plant. He looked like Turkey nephew or something. How does Crawford and Eminem know each other? They ain't from the same ends region. Quite strange. Okay, so basically, like Crawford is a big fan of Eminem's music, and Eminem is a big fan of Terence Crawford as a boxer. So they literally linked up last year before his fight with Errol Spence. Because Eminem, I think he put out a tweet saying that Terence Crawford's one of his favorite fighters to watch. And Crawford was like, "Oh, swear down, like you actually one of my favorite artists. Why don't you pull up to the fight?" And Eminem said, "Oh, cool, yeah, let's sort it out, let's run it." And then so obviously I guess they exchanged information, or Crawford then got him a ticket, or and then he ended up asking him. Oh, he said it would be a pleasure if you could walk me out, and that's basically what happened. So that's how they kind of know each other, and how their relationship started, I suppose. Canelo, I want the Bivol rematch. Signs with PBC to fight the likes of Charlo. Canelo stopped talking about fighting Usyk after Bivol took his soul. Canelo also hates when he don't get his own way. Anyone in a position of power hates when they can't get their own way. When your money can't buy like your respect or whatever it is that you want, is what people do, because they're not used to being told no, or being told that things can't run on their time. So Yeah, let's get through some of the rest of these comments, and then I'm gonna get to sort of my thoughts on what's going on with everything. Yeah, that intro lasted a lot longer than I was planning on it doing, but this has been highly entertaining. Via Twitter at Nuke and fans of each other. There you go. Um, I like the smoke talk from Turkey, but I also like him championing Crawford. I mean, the thing is, the one thing I don't like about, I guess, Turkey and his involvement at the minute is that he is very open with his biases, and the fact that you're like, if you were like a promoter and like you've got a stable of people, that's one thing. But because he's obviously, he's such a champion of Crawford, he's now a champion of Benavidez and of Haney and these people, it's more likely that he can then wield influence over judges or over officials to make sure that those people get favorable treatment in fights. If he was a bit more like, I would love to see Crawford versus such and such because I think it's a great fight, or I want Benavidez to get an opportunity to show people how good he really is, or show people if he's the truth, then that's a different story. But when you're like when you remember, he ultimately he said, like, Francis, I love you, but I'm rooting for AJ to knock you out. Like, you can't be putting on the fights and openly telling people that you're betting against them, because at that point, imagine if that fight went the distance and it goes to scorecards and AJ wins on the scorecards. Now you're like, was I robbed because you own this thing and you said that I was bad for boxing? You know what I mean? So that's one thing I don't like, when he's openly coming out with all his biases. But with that being said, thus far, at least none of that has looked like it's happened where there's been a controversial decision because it's one of Turkey's favorites. So it was more of an Eminem concert of anything. It was more of Eminem concert of anything, dear Lord. Shout out to Yasmin in the building. Good to see you here. Bud is Eminem's favorite boxer. Bud reached out to Eminem to walk him out. Spence White, Bud also at Dr. Dre's ceremony when he got his star on the walk. Yeah. Imagine Turkey bought Mexico. I mean, do you know what the funny thing about that is? I mean, I'm pretty sure that Saudi state has got the money to do it. I think the beef started between Turkey and Canelo, with Turkey, I think, teaming up with the UFC, Dana White, to put on a show on the same day as Turkey. I think it started before then, but it wasn't necessarily a beef. It was just like, I'm making offers to you for quote unquote Benavidez, and Canelo was just like, well, everyone's telling me this is the biggest fight in the world. Pay me like it's the biggest fight in the world, because the money you're offering, I can make that fight in anyone. If this fight is as big as you claim it is, pay me like it's as big as you're saying it is. And I just don't think that was ever the case. So yeah, I think that's kind of the reason that's where the tension started. And then again, it's just a case of, Turkey wanting Canelo to answer to him on his timeline, when his plans are happening. Whereas, Canelo was saying, well, no, I've got my own schedule that I keep. And I'm not doing anything until my schedule is clear. And I just think it was one of those situations where, you've got two alpha males, like, butting heads, basically. Canelo is becoming the new Fury. I don't know if I could agree with that statement. I mean, Canelo's legacy is already solidified. He's already done everything in the game that he needs to do, whereas Fury didn't have much of a legacy outside of 2 fights or 3 fights, if you're going to be generous. To me, it was just 1. But yeah, Benavidez should have took action and actually forced mandatory 100%. And I'm happy. There's a lot of people from the boxing world who were saying, oh, Canelo's ducking. I've seen a bunch of them now coming onto shows and being like, you know what? I think, David Benavidez was playing the game, because he had ample opportunities to force his position, to force his shot, and he never did. So yeah. Shout out to North Bank, Brennan in the building. Salute to you, Philip. That UFC card gonna be so mid. The main event ain't even related Mexican fighters. I don't understand Dana and Turkey for this move. I think it was just a case of, I think more than anything, Turkey just wanted to be able to say he brought a big event to the sphere at a time when maybe no one else can afford to do it, and it just so happens that that's when Dana decided to. But yeah, for some reason Dana's been looking at that. He's been looking at that date for a while, and he's always trying to get it. But it's like, well, it's a boxing date first of all, and it's a Mexican date. So why is you're thinking, oh well, it's a date where people are gonna come and spend money? Well, no, Mexicans are gonna go and spend money. Like that community, that's their time, that's their event. Unless you've got something that is worthwhile for them. And realistically, it's a boxing day. It's not a UFC day. UFC people don't care about Mexican Independence Day like that. Like, no offense to anyone, but it's a boxing heritage. Like, why are you trying to encroach on a time when that's not even relevant to your business? Let alone, as I said, with like an Irish American in your final facing, what is it, like an Eastern Bloc guy? He's not even facing a Mexican fighter. So the whole thing just makes no sense. I like that Turkey is exposing people with padded records. Pitbull dined out on taking Tank 12 rounds and beating Rolly 100%. And again, I admit I got that one wrong. Only because I thought that Ryo would gas and he would lose concentration towards the end of the fight. Because I've seen him switch off in fights before, and I just thought that pressure would eventually get to him. But shout outs to Ryo. The tactics worked perfectly, the game plan worked perfectly. He did start to slow down and get caught a lot in rounds 11 and 12 though, so I wasn't far off of what I was thinking. Emma, Turkey officially lost his mystic. He's a regular crazy boxing fan. Oh, Mystique. Okay, yeah, I get that. Crawford should have stopped Madrimov like he promised his fan base. Turkey found out real quick about weight classes. I mean, look, I think he could have got the stoppage if he changed stances about 4 or 5 rounds prior. But again, Madrimov is a tough guy. Them them Uzbekistans, them Eastern Bloc countries, like they're not easygoing people. They're not weak. They're very strong-minded, and it was going to take an awful lot to really bust up and break down Madrimov. Now, let's not forget, Madrimov was very cautious in that fight because he felt the power, and I think he actually understood, oh, this power is real. So he started doing a lot of things to negate how certain moves were going to be made. But Crawford, don't get me wrong, Crawford hurt him, but Crawford obviously took shots, and I think Crawford hurt Madrimov a lot more in that fight than Madrimov hurt him. But the one thing that was kind of noticeable is Crawford is obviously, they're both strong in the clinches, but Madrimov, I'm not sure if Crawford was trying to fight against him in the clinches, maybe he was trying to conserve his legs, but Madrimov was winning a lot of those exchanges. But both of them had that like wrestling background, so Crawford couldn't just use leverage as he normally does against most other people, because Madrimov had answers for that on the inside. But Crawford still dictated from the inside, dictated from the outside. Pretty clear and conclusive performance to me. Funny enough, I saw a show with Dan Raphael earlier where he said the fight was more likely to be a 9-3 Crawford than a 7-5 Madrimov. So anyone complaining about the scores, like, we're just moaning for the sake of moaning. And I actually scored it 9-3 to Crawford. So yeah, that resonated when he said that. Be interesting to see who Canelo fights next May. Someone should take his Mexican day away from him. And nothing regular about Turkey's bank balance. Also, he was already at 168 before Canelo came up to that weight. David, why didn't you try unified belts when he was already up there? 100%. Again, remember, lost belts on the scales twice. Never unified with anyone. The fight with him, he waited until after both him and Caleb Plant didn't have belts to make that fight. 5 years late to not even sell anything on pay-per-view. Like, crazy. Royale School Pitbull 9384 maybe, yeah? Hear that? What did you think about Berlanga telling Canelo that he has more boxing IQ than all the fighters Canelo's fought? I just laughed. I feel like Canelo didn't want to KO Munguia, but Berlanga was the KO. Yeah, look, Belanga's talking. He's talking himself into the fight, isn't it? Like, he's got to find inspiration from somewhere. He's got to try and find a way to psych himself up. The only thing I will say with regards to this fight, though, and it's something that Hatman said in the video earlier. I don't listen to a lot of his videos and stuff now, but when he said, because obviously Berlanga has been talking about he's been obsessed, quote unquote, with Canelo, and if you remember, Teofimo was obsessed with Lomachenko. Like, Evander Holyfield was obsessed with Mike Tyson, and they managed to find a way to essentially like do the unthinkable in those fights. So it does make me kind of wonder if he has been as obsessed as he claims, has he been training enough? Like, is there certain things he can find, a way that he can find to actually, like, you know, win that fight? Now, personally, I think there's absolutely no chance, but it's an interesting talking point. That being said, I'm still not buying the pay. If they try to make it pay-per-view over here, I'm still not buying it, because not only is that fight not a fight I opt for specifically, but the rest of the card is horrid. So yeah, I feel sorry for my American compatriots who got to pay the $80 for that one. But if they're trying to make me pay some $23.99 over here for that, nope. So y'all can keep that, quite frankly. 140 division been turned completely on its head. I hear that. Big up base new subscriber. Shout out to Ryan Hutchison. Thank you very much for subscribing. Thank you very much for subscribing. Apologies for that little bit of increase in the volume there. All right, but look, now, so we've pretty much given our ideas on sort of how Turki and Canelo are getting on. Clearly, like I said, I think it's just two alpha males that, you know, just want to basically have things their own way, and when neither are getting their own way, they're going to act out. Now, luckily, in this moment, Canelo is kind of the one with the power, because he's the one that's kind of got what Turki wants. Turki wants fights for certain people. So Canelo is able to leverage that, and then even if them fights don't happen, it's not really affecting Canelo. Whereas, you know, Turki, because he's known to always get what he wants, the fact he can't quite get this is making him, you know, be a bit sassy. But let's talk about Eddie Hearn and Terence Crawford. Now, this one is weird to me because I always thought they had a decent like relationship. And obviously, Eddie's always been like the opponent, but that's because, you know, that's ultimately because you've had Terence Crawford has always been on top rank. And when he was like a free agent, Eddie didn't really have no one that he could match him against. He couldn't do the, you know, the Spence fight, so you can't really sign him. So I get the fact there's the rivalry in that side, but it just seems to have turned a bit sour now. And I'm also, the thing is, in the States enough, right, for them to understand that there's certain, you know, there's British sarcasm, there's certain humor that we have that you should really kind of understand by now. Like, you've been around it enough. So when he's saying, oh, I found it disrespectful that Eddie's saying that we needed Canelo's name to sell the fight, like, you can tell that he's joking, he's laughing when he said it. It's not like he was being dead. Like, it's sarcasm, it's humor, it's just a British thing. And it's just crazy that, you know, I guess, bear in mind, we all speak the same language, we use the same words, even though we spell a lot of them differently. But it's crazy that you can't, a lot of people don't understand what banter really is and how banter works. Because in America, banter is a lot more like it's dissing. It's actually like it's cussing. It's playing the dozens. Whereas in the UK, banter can just be, you know, having like making fun, having a bit of a laugh sometimes at your expense. It's not that deep. But Crawford seems to be taking it that way. So yeah, I don't really think he should personally. You know, in my opinion, but obviously I can't ever tell a next man how to feel about, you know, I guess their name being mentioned or whatever. Um, but yeah, then I guess in his next fight, I guess Eddie Hearn, they're gonna build up that little rivalry, and Eddie's gonna end up being the promoter of Crawford, the next opponent as well, just to sort of keep stoking that fire. But I did like what Eddie said. I promoted you more in 1 week than you had in your entire career, and you weren't even my fighter. Like, you're welcome. um, which, to be honest, is kind of true, because, you know, Bob Arum might say, "Oh, he's amazing, rare, rare," but Eddie literally was in the interviews promoting him. They did content together that ultimately was getting viral in and amongst the sports world. So, Lara versus Danny Garcia, funny random. Yeah, that fight's horrid. But the joke is, as much as I hate to say this, I shouldn't say this. Lara should win that fight, and he should win that fight via knockout, and I would love to see it. But something is also telling me I kind of want Danny Garcia to win to get that belt, so that Terence Crawford can fight him at 160 and take the belt off him and just become a 5-weight world champion, and ultimately have payback for all the years that Danny Garcia ducked him, you know, from like 2018 all the way up until now. And all of a sudden now you've got Danny Garcia talking about, "Oh yeah, with the the Crawford fight's the fight to make." Yeah, I bet it is, because he's there with Turki Al-Sheikh paying astronomical money. But to me, if he wins that fight, if I was Crawford, I'd either say, "You know what, I'm still at 154 and I'm coming back to finish for the rest of the belts, but I'm doing this side mission right quick. I'm gonna take that belt. I'll drop it later, but I just want that payback. I just want to be able to take that belt off you." That to me would be a funny scenario. And that is literally a side mission. Yeah, he ain't even got to train to 8-10 weeks for that. Like, he could take that fight on 5 weeks notice and deal with Danny Garcia. I agree about Turkey biases, like how desperate he was to make Wilder versus AJ when it was clear he was finished. Yeah. Fury versus Ngannou was tragedy for boxing. Thank you, Turk. Isaac, you really hate it. I get it, but you hate it. Bud doesn't get any sarcasm. He's American, you gotta forgive. But no, I get it. But it's like I would feel that you're around him enough now. He's been in the America for so long. You would understand that stuff, or at least try to, because especially when you've got such a large fan base in the UK, so you need to kind of understand how they operate, because that's how you'll end up making money in that, you know, sort of in that environment. If you did want to sort of come back and fight over here and make money over here. On Eddie's side, it's all fun and jokes, but maybe more serious on Crawford. Silly to be me. Yeah, I mean, I feel like Eddie's laughing and joking, but like, again, I don't think Crawford gets that Eddie's actually having fun, and maybe just, you know, bantering him and, you know, maybe poking the bear now because he knows that he can get under his skin. Whereas Crawford is literally looking at it from the other perspective, almost like, "No, don't disrespect me." But he's like, "I'm not actually disrespecting you, but, you know, if you really want to have that conversation, let's do it." You know, because it's all fun and games. Who's Crawford next fight? Well, he's mandated to fight Sebastian Fundora, so that should be his next fight in theory. Fundora can't face. Apparently, he can't be medically cleared until like November, December time. I doubt that Spence fight's really going to take place. I don't really see that one happening. So that should realistically be the next fight. If not that one, then just give him a side quest. Make him fight Sergey Boachuk. No, not Boachuk, sorry. Let him fight Bakram Murtazaliev for the IBF and unify that. and then try go for the other two belts afterwards. But he's mandatory for the WBC and the WBO right now. So that realistically should be the next fight to get those belts, and then maybe you do the IBF afterwards, or you let Virgil Ortiz fight Bakram, you fight Fundora, or you let Virgil or Tim Tszyu fight one of them fight Fundora, you fight Bakram, and then the two come together to make it undisputed at the end. That's what I'd like to see if he's not going to end up getting the Canelo fight at 168. Eddie was singing his praises for most of the week. He's been promoting Shakur and Bud heavily without them signed to him. Yeah, 100%. Obviously, Bud's got to realize Eddie is Madrimov's promoter, so he has to back his guy. That doesn't mean that he hates you or you've now got to make him your enemy. It's not that deep. Base, does it surprise you that Tiafimo ducked Brian Norman? No. Tiafimo's arse cheeks. And he knows he's about to get turned over by the next person. That's why he's calling out Crawford. He doesn't even want the Crawford fight. But if he was to get the Crawford fight, he knows that that's a beating that's not going to affect him. Because no one expects him to beat Crawford, especially when it's going to be at 154 pounds. You're not going to get him to come back to 147 for you. But that's a beating where, all right, well, I wasn't supposed to win that fight. He knows that. But he knows he's on board. Anyone that he fights now, he could legitimately lose to anybody he fights. That's how much Teofimo Lopez has regressed right now. So, yeah. He's only calling out Crawford to make himself relevant. But yeah, he don't want that Norman smoke. Nor does he want smoke with anyone else. He don't want Devin Haney smoke. As far as him, he needs to run it back with Kambosos, isn't it? And Lucan, what Eddie Hearn would have mouthed off to a heavyweight like that. He's getting slightly braver by the day. He has. He's mouthed off to quite a few. But the difference is, remember, a lot of the heavyweights are from this side of the pond, so they understand a lot of it is banter. It's lighthearted. And it's not like he's squaring up to you like he's trying to fight. It's that's just what it is. But again, there's a certain thing about some people they like I don't take disrespect, and some people think banter is disrespect. Like bear in mind, I've done interviews with Eddie Hearn, but I've had little bits of banter with him, and I can tell that maybe it wasn't he maybe didn't like it wholeheartedly, but he understood it was banter, so he didn't he didn't really blow up, and then he's maybe just said things back, and it's like, okay, even though what you've said back, someone might look at it as a bit disrespectful. To me, it's just fun and games because that's just what we're doing. But obviously, some people don't see it that way. You think Boots would have beat the version of Spence that Crawford fought? I think anyone half decent would have beaten that version of Spence. The thing is, I've always said Spence ain't that good. Don't get me wrong, Bud is an elite fighter, but Bud has been fighting guys that are just like either very good, maybe world level, or maybe below world level. But he's elite because he's showing you the levels between him and between them. But Spence has never been that good. I've always said that. And if people think that's me maybe even diminishing Bud's career or one of his best wins, all right, cool. But Spence was always overhyped. So yes, I think I think Boots would have beat him. I think Virgil Ortiz would have beat him. At 154, I think he's food for a lot of people if he decides to carry on fighting. I think he needs to retire because he's not even moving correctly these days. Like his body is damaged beyond repair. Like Crawford would have beat any version of Spence there was pre-car accident or post, but you can see that he's not even the same man. Like from a physical standpoint, there's no reason for him to be boxing anymore. You missed Eddie and Wilder, Shelley Finkel going back and forth. Yeah, even that. Like they just don't get it. Turkey wants Ortiz versus Crawford. Yeah, he does. Personally, I think if you're gonna make that fight, obviously it's a Mexico versus a Mexican American versus African American fight. They sell quite well, but let Ortiz do something first. And I don't say that I like Virgil Ortiz as a fighter. Don't get me wrong, but he ain't win no belts at 147. He ducked the Crawford fight several times at 147. So let him go and win a belt at 154. Let him face Bakram Murtazaliev. Let him face Sebastian Fundora. Like, let him do something. Get a belt and make that a unification. Don't just give him a chance at a free shot at a title without him having to earn it. That's what I would say. Spence should stay far away from Bud. If they're in the same city, Spence needs to leave. Ahaya Selassie, who does Base want Boots to fight next? If he's at 147, I want him to fight one of the other champions. I'd love him to fight Brian Norman. Who else is a champion at 147 at the moment? So Brian Norman's got the interim WBO. He's got the IB. Oh yeah, because Crawford's still got the other 2 belts, isn't it? Yeah, get a fight with. If you can't get Brian Norman, let Boots face Teofimo Lopez. Lopez is talking about he wants to go to 154. Let him face 147. Yeah, let Boots face Teofimo. That'd be a good fight, since he doesn't think he can do the 140 thing anymore. Shout out to D Style in the building. Thank you very much for the $2 super chat, D Style. Philip, I found it funny that Tio Senior got Canelo to tell the media that Crawford needs to fight him before he fights Canelo. Yeah, it's a stupid. It's he's just attaching his name to the guy for no reason. Like, he can't get, and even if he got the fight, he's going, oh, it's got to be at 147. Bearing in mind that the guy's moved up to 154, he's not coming back down. He said that the only fight he was ever going to do at 147 was going to be the contractual rematch with Errol Spence. But after that, he was done at the weight. He said that. So he's not staying at 147 for you. I agree, Ortiz needs to show out before a Crawford fight. Right, Hot Prize, James. Who do you think Eubank is fighting? I hear a fight has been agreed, but can't guess who it is. Put it this way. I know who he's fighting, or who. There was 2 names I was told. I can't say. I'm not allowed to say. But I guarantee you, you're not going to be happy about it. That's what I'll say. It's going to be, and it's going to be a run out. Put it that way. Funny how Tio and Oscar talk nonsense about Eddie, but when they meet up with him, it's all friendly. I think even Eddie was confused. Yeah, a lot of, I don't know. I think a lot of the talking is just because they know that they're going to get attention if they talk his name. It's one of them ones. But with that being said, look, we're coming towards the end of this. I've kind of given my takes. I know some of you guys have as well. But I want to go for about another 10, 15 minutes or so. I'm going to put a link in the chat. Anyone who wants to jump in, give their takes, please feel free. It's not something that we usually get to do here, but I've got some free time, especially as I'm getting to the gym after this. So yeah, I haven't got to rush around and do anything else. So if anyone wants to jump on, please do. And I'm gonna leave the link up. If no one jumps in within sort of the next 5-6 minutes, then we'll close it down. But otherwise, we'll go for another 15 minutes if anyone does click on the link. But yeah, any other things people want to talk about in the chat before we wrap up? Whether it's boxing or non-boxing related, any other news stories, anything else is broken out? Love the banter Ben Shalom had with KG and Trap. Yeah, that was fun. The thing is though, I know that they kind of had a meeting the day before, so the ice was broken there. But I know Ben watches everything. Because I've spoken obviously to Ben, and he's made reference certain times to videos that I've put up, and obviously I've mentioned stuff that I've put up. And one thing about Ben, as much as he doesn't like when people badmouth him as such, like if you go in front of him and actually tell him um your criticisms, he respects that. Like he respect, like when I said to him, look, you've been heavily criticized about certain things in the past, like including me. I've criticized you, I've said X, Y, and Z. He respects that because you're actually coming to him direct to ask the questions. um Thoughts on Ryan versus Mayer? It's a good fight, but I'm surprised that Sandy Ryan would take a fight on quote unquote away soil with no I guess no backing home. Well, no sort of because it's not a co-promotion, it's a top ranked card, and she just is. I wonder who's going to be in their corner. If Frank Smith's going to go, is it going to be Eddie? Is it going to be another representative of Matchroom? She's got it all to do though. She, even though she might be the bigger girl naturally, I think Michaela Mayer, she filled out quite well to that sort of that 140, 147 division. And Sandy's not going to be able to push her around the ring and knock her out. I don't think it's going to end in a knockout. And I don't know who's got the naturally longer reach though. That's the one thing. Even though Michaela Mayer is quite tall, she's I'm not sure how much more advantages in terms of reach she's got over Sandy. But Sandy likes to get in close for shots, whereas Michaela can work off the jab, and but she's quite flat-footed. I think that Sandy Ryan might have faster feet than her, but Sandy likes to get in a bit closer, so I'm not sure. Here, Trav and KG finally met up with Gareth A. Davis, but that's not the first time they met up. They've seen each other before, but yeah, that's the first time Gareth tried to make certain mention of stuff. What you saying about SummerSlam? Yeah, the OTC is back. Yeah, I call it the only tribal chief, but they say it means original. I'm looking forward to SmackDown on Friday to see how that goes. Very tough fight for Ryan, but I love it 100%. Ben Shalom accepts Frank Smith's offer for a 1-to-1. Comical. Sandy can fold her if she cleans up her boxing. Yeah, but she may not, because she likes to go for those looping shots, whereas Michaela can stay behind the jab. Did Gareth ask about anyone's shower routines? I think they said something about the shower routines, but all right, I can see there is a guest has popped in. Told them let me pay them proper respect. I'll turn that off. Oh, it's my guy Ra Holcomb in the building. What's going on, Ra? Shout out to you.
Big up, Face. How are ya?
I'm good, man. I'm good. Just before you go, 1 second. Hot Pies, thank you very much for the $4.99 super chat. Very appreciated. Didn't have to do that, but you did, and I respect you for it. All right, go for it. What do you want to talk about?
Well, I'll answer what you asked earlier. Why I hate them both. Canelo. Listen, when I say hate, this is just boxing hate. It ain't real hate.
Of course, yeah.
I wish them well in their personal lives, and I'm sure if I met Canelo in person, I'm sure I'd like him. But I don't like the way he's been moving. For a pound for pound rated fighter, he's just far too selective. And I think when you're going to start comparing yourself to all-time greats, then you're going to get all-time great scrutiny, and I just don't think it measures up. And as you said, he's got this sense of entitlement about how much respect he has to be afforded, including from his rivals. And I think, dude, it's the fight game. You guys are punching each other in the face. You ain't meant to be friends and pally in that way. The way the move with Munguia, it was almost like, fellow Mexican, you've been respectful to me, so I'll carry you and give you a payday. Like, what's that all about? That's corny.
Yeah, but with that, I think what I will say with regards to that is, I think his thing is, if you want the fight initially, be respectful. Like, don't be disrespecting me when I'm your biggest chance at the biggest payday you're ever going to get. Like, show me that level of respect in the initial stages, when it gets time to the fight, then yeah, at that point, he's probably like, well, I understand all bets are off, and this is war. So if you say a certain thing, okay, that just makes me want to punch you up even more. If you don't, then we can, it will be skill for skill. I'm still gonna hurt you, but maybe I might take it a bit easier. But I think it's just that initial stage of, look, you're not gonna talk your way into a fight with me, like, oh, like you're gonna call me X, Y, and Z, and then think you're gonna get the fight, knowing that it's not even just a case of your if it was a case of, it's just two people, a proper grudge, they just hate each other, that's one thing. But it's like he's saying, well, no, you want to fight me because I'm your best chance at stardom. Like, you beat me, you get the keys to the kingdom, and you get the biggest payday in your life. So you're not going to come at me a mad way, knowing that I'm literally giving you everything that you. So I think that's the perspective he comes from in that sense. But then once you get the fight, look at Belanga. Belanga was very respectful, quote unquote, and then now look at him at the press conferences. You know what I mean? Is a very different, because now the fight's signed, and that's what a lot of
Yeah,
them do.
I get that. But when you're talking about the fights that are being talked about the most that haven't happened, Benavidez and Bud, for example, I don't think they've said anything particularly disrespectful. It's just a case of, yeah, I think we can beat this guy. He should give us the chance next. He hasn't gone in there saying, neither have gone in there saying, oh, Canelo, he's a load of crap. He's not done this. He's not done that. He's a fraud. Not the
Well,
sort of things.
actually, Benavidez and his dad did go in on that approach to start off with. Then they got very humble when he joined PBC. But as I said earlier on in the stream, I'm like, if you follow the timeline properly and not just the stuff that Canelo says. Let's not forget, Canelo is the guy that everyone pays attention to everything that he says, right? But if you pay attention to the entire thing, I'm of the firm opinion that Benavidez's team never really wanted that fight, and they were literally just positioning their name next to Canelo's name. I don't think they want that fight, because none of their actions have actually proven that they've made any effort to make that fight happen at any point.
I'll agree with you on that.
Yeah.
But when he refused to confirm that he wants to push his WBC mandatory spot,
Yeah.
then I think, well, right, you got there, you were at the finish line, and you turned back. So you're right. I'm done with Benavidez. So as for Turki Al-Sheikh, yeah, I'm boycotting Riyadh season. I'm not even going to go to Wembley. Yeah, I'm on his barred list now. So for something very petty, and it's interesting.
Is that the thing that happened at the last event you was at? You talking about, or something that's happened since then?
Basically, yes, what happened. But it seems like the word's been put out, and so now a lot of people are keeping their distance from me, because an insider told me that everyone is just tiptoeing around him and his crony. He's desperate not to cause offence. So, as you said, petulance, and you know what? He ain't that much of a big man. I think there's this misconception as to how powerful he is. He is not part of the royal family in the kingdom, and ultimately in Saudi Arabia, the only people with real power are the royals. He's just an employee, because he was mates with the crown prince. He's an employee. The crown prince gave his old school friend a job. Yes, a job with an enormous budget, an unfathomable budget. But, the politics of the kingdom is that there's various factions of princes who are always jockeying for influence and power. That's why Prince Khalid, who brought boxing to the kingdom initially, he's been shunted aside for now. But make no mistake, behind the scenes, they're all sort of looking to see each other slip up. And if his massive expenditure doesn't start paying off, and there's no sign it will, eventually some other princes are going to be able to go to the king and say, look, your idiot son's best mate from school has spent this much money, and all we've got is idiots like John Fury come over and start headbutting people. do we really want to spend the money out of the national treasury on this project any further? Blah blah blah. I can see a time where this suddenly the whole thing just goes, where the kingdom, the higher powers will actually decide, yeah, you know what, let's cut our losses on this and stick to golf or tennis or whatever else they decide to move on to next. But his power in the sport and in the kingdom it's by no means secure. So he ain't some alpha man. Come on, look, when do alpha men go on Twitter and start, as a lot of our colleagues on Twitter are saying, responding like a scorned girlfriend? Yeah, I mean, that just grown men just don't do that, you know. I mean,
that's true, but when I say alpha, he's alpha in this scenario because the money makes people listen and pay attention. I get what you're saying, but that was what we was talking about him. But yes, you are right. There is a lot of there is a lot of petulance there, and it is a lot of people have noticed it, myself included. But for the time being, I hear what you're saying. I'm gonna let you go in a second, but for the time being, as much as there is a lot of things he does do and say that I don't necessarily agree with, as long as he's giving me the fights or giving me good quality fights that that I like, I'm gonna forego a lot of that, and I'm gonna look the other way on certain things until it stops being in my interest to do so. I hear that.
yeah,
But yo,
absolutely.
you got anything else you want to say just before I let you go? Because your line is crackling a little bit.
Yeah, I'll leave it there. It's good catching up with you. Will I see you at a show coming up soon?
Unfortunately not. I was potentially going to be at the York Hall show, but I'm actually going to be in Birmingham that weekend, so no boxing for me on the Denzel Bentley show. But I will let you know. I will message you when I know next on my schedule. And yeah, anytime I do get opportunity, I'll give you a shout.
Top man. Look forward to seeing you soon.
Peace
Cheers,
out.
brother.
Thank you,
Nice
man.
one.
All right. Okay. So my excellency is being besmirched. Damn, dude called Turkey someone's school friend. Well, the thing is, I mean, look, he's been in the environment. He knows certain things, and even look, I've heard certain things. I don't, I haven't been in the thick of it like how Mr. Ra has been in the thick of it. And I'm not gonna lie, part of that did sound a little bit like sour grapes because you got barred from from the season. But I get a lot of what you're saying. I understand that still. You know what? Hot pies, how often do we get the chance to use the word besmirched? uh, all right, well, he was the only person to jump on today. We're gonna read through the last couple of comments and then we're gonna shut down this stream. Tank and Canelo both said no to Turkey. They don't need that money. The joke is, I actually think Tank does need that money more than Canelo doesn't, but I think Tank does, because Tank isn't actually a very good or a very intelligent businessman, and I don't think he's made as much money as he claims to have made, personally. And I can see a scenario where he starts frittering away certain things, or he starts doing certain things. So he might need that payday sooner rather than later. But he just wants to be the problem is he doesn't want Turkey's money because he doesn't want to fight people that he knows Turkey's gonna make him fight. So that's the thing. It's not the fact that he wants the paydays. He just wants to be able to fight the people he wants to fight. AJ probably the only, I think it's Canelo and AJ the only people that don't necessarily need Turkey. But AJ understood very quickly, I don't even have to work for obviously he's got to fight big people, but it's like I haven't got to do anything in the terms of promotion because my paycheck isn't dependent on the pay-per-views. So he's like, that's an easy pay, that's easy money for me, let me take that. Tank was being stupid, but Canelo's just standing his ground. 100%. All right. Well, look, we're hitting up about hour 10 at the minute. I want to thank everyone that has joined in. Thank you to Ra who jumped on and obviously, laid down the verbal assaults. Hope that doesn't reflect negatively on me. But remember, the of the views and opinions of my my guests are not necessarily mine. But I am not, I'm all about free speech and saying what you want to say. So that being said, I will thank everyone for joining in. I'm going to see if I can start doing, going to see if I can get episode done over the weekend, because there's not a lot of stuff going on. You guys deserve that. You deserve some more content outside of the live streams. So I will be working on that. Basis picks hopefully will be out tomorrow. I can't guarantee it. Again, depends on the work schedule, but we will see what we can do. But yeah, until then, thank you lot very much for watching. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share if you have not done so already. For right now, it's the Hardcore Casual.
Maybe I'ma make it, maybe I'm not. In time we'll see. But who better than me? I don't care if you agree. I ain't saying that I'm better than anyone.